So episode Aigis has been out for about 2 weeks now as I record this video, and now that a bit of time has passed, I want to talk about the changes they made to the DLC. As I said in my spoiler-free review, the writing in this DLC was a lot different than I was expecting from the original Fes version, and not only that, some cutscenes took a dramatic change in style as well. While everything still results in the same outcome narrative-wise, the way they get there is much different, so the question is, was it for the best or for the worse? I'm still semi-mixed on this even now, but I think this is a good discussion to have. So let's start off with the writing. This will obviously have spoilers for both the Reload and Fes versions, so if you don't want to be spoiled, feel free to click off the video now. You have been warned. The first and most obvious example of the change in writing is Yukari. Yukari and Fes and Reload when it comes to the answer are basically two completely different characters. Fes Yukari was a lot more aggressive and would lash out at anything that made her even slightly emotional, but Reload Yukari on the other hand is a lot more low-key and hollow. Now, I don't mean hollow as in a hollow character, but as a person, if you get what I mean. Her sadness takes a lot more of the forefront and is a lot more obvious than the Fes writing where it was a bit masked by her anger and frustration. Personally, I don't actually have a problem with this change. Yukari and Reload across the board, even in the base game, was changed to be more in line with this kind of writing, and while I do understand that it can be a bit divisive, I think it fits her well either way. Both Fes and Reload show how someone like Yukari copes with loss and regresses as a person. It's not like either of them fail in this aspect, and at the end of the day, that's the main goal that this chapter of Persona 3 was trying to achieve. The voice direction for Yukari makes the change even more clear, where a lot of the anger and sass in her voice has been substituted for a low and dejected tone of voice. I mean, the very first time you hear her voice when she comes to the dorm shows it instantly.
I came because Mitsuru-senpai called for me just in case, and I get caught up in this? Give me a break.
Mitsuru-senpai asked me to come just in case, and I get caught up in something like this? Come on, seriously?
Maybe this is a hot take, but I think Reload's version of the writing kind of fits Yukari better overall. Again, this isn't to say Fes's depiction is bad because it's still fantastic, but let me explain why I feel that way. Yukari as a character clearly cares deeply about her friends and everyone around her, not just the protagonist. So while it's totally valid that she does act the way she does in the answer with her aggression toward everyone in Fes, I think Reload's depiction where she bottles up her feelings even more and hides her true anger and frustration works better. It makes the build up to the main discussion regarding whether to go back to the past or the present more surprising in my opinion. But that main discussion is where I do think Fes's depiction is better than Reload's. If there was any time for Yukari to hit a breaking point and lash out at her friends like she does in Fes, it's during the conversation with the keys. And while she does hit that breaking point after the 2v2 battles in the Coliseo Purgatorio, I think it would have fit more if she lashed out during the conversation. In case you haven't seen the Fes version of the discussion everyone has regarding the keys, here's a snippet of both to compare the two.
When you get down to it though, I hate to say this, but I'm just too scared to do that battle over.
What's wrong with you? Are you saying you're scared to die, but it's okay if he does? All that talk about accepting the present is because when you get down to it, you only care about yourselves.
What? And think about it. If we go back, we'd have to face Nyx again.
What? So you're just afraid to fight?
No! Well, I am, but...
I can't decide right now which is more important, the past or the present. So you're just gonna run away? Again? Just like the day we said our farewells to him, and you were the only one who didn't show up. You got to hear his last words. You even made him a promise. But here you are, still running. Why were you the one who inherited his power when you can't even make up your mind? I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna lose to someone like you.
I am the past or the present? I'm just not sure.
You seriously won't make a choice? The day we said our goodbyes, you were the only one who didn't show up. You got to hear his last words, and now you even have his power, but you still don't know how you feel about him? Listen, I know it hurts. Believe me. It hurts so much I can't stand it, but Forget it. Nothing I say will make a difference anyway.
So in the Fest version, she projects her own doubts and regrets onto Ken and Akihiko as well as the others. Since almost everyone else has a fairly set in stone path that they're deciding to go down that goes in direct odds with hers, she feels like she's the only one that really cared about Makoto, which is elaborated on after the Erebus fight. But without this scene in Reload, that moment doesn't really hit as hard. The scene with Yukari admitting she was just jealous hit hard for me personally because of her irrational outbursts during the main conversation. I think everyone has had a moment in their lives where they say something they really regret to those they love, which makes her apology at the end all the more impactful. But in the Reload version of the argument, she really doesn't even do anything wrong at all, which in the context of the answer is a bit of a downgrade for me. I will keep emphasizing the point that Reload's version is not objectively bad or anything when it comes to this moment, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you all that I think everything is better, and this is coming from someone who does usually prefer Reload over Fest in most aspects. Okay, we rambled on long as hell about the main conversation and everything, but then we get to the big breakdown scene with Yukari, and this is by far the biggest change in the DLC across the board, not just for Yukari. Since Yukari in Fest was a lot more aggressive, she tries to forcefully take the true key away from Icus in a desperate attempt to go back to the past, but in Reload, she kinda just awkwardly collapses. It's obviously meant to be awkward because she's breaking down, but yeah, even the way it starts is a lot different. But they're both in line with their character, so I'm not going to push on it too much, even though I do low-key prefer the Fest version in that aspect. When it comes to the actual moment itself though, I think Reload and Fest both did a pretty good job. The absolute best thing Reload did was make everyone else actually have a reaction to what she's saying. In Fest, Junpei and them just kind of stand there and watch, but having them play a part, albeit a very small one, made the scene flow together a lot better for me personally. Besides just Yukari though, Mitsuru had a pretty big change in this moment as well, and I think I actually do like it. I saw a lot of mixed feelings on the change Mitsuru had in writing during this moment, but god bro, for me personally, it almost brought me to tears. Maybe it's because of the voice actress Allegra Clark and the amazing delivery she had, but man, it was just rough for me. So to sum up the change Mitsuru had in writing, her regret on the protagonist's death was emphasized a bit more, but the two biggest changes are with her motive to help those around her and what is said right near the end of Yukari's breakdown. Mitsuru's writing was changed to emphasize her desire to help and protect those around her in general, and not just solely Yukari. The complaint I hear is that it's less believable and makes the impact worse, but I honestly don't think it's that bad. I think in either version, whether it be Fest or Reload, it's very clear that Mitsuru has a special bond with Yukari, so even though she says she vowed to protect everyone rather than solely Yukari outright, I think it's still pretty obvious that she cared for Yukari more than anyone else. If she didn't, then why would she still decide to fight alongside her despite thinking she was in the wrong with her decision of wanting to return to the past? Just because she doesn't outright say, "I vow to protect you no matter what," doesn't mean she still doesn't feel or think that way. On top of that, I think what Mitsuru says at the end fits the overall idea of what the answer in Persona 3 at large is going for. I'm gonna just let a bit of it play here because this is my favorite scene in the whole game probably.
You may not have thought much of it, but to me, last year, when you refused to give up on me and gave me something to fight for again, I will never forget that. So this time, we want to be here for you.
Mitsuru-senpai,
The pain of losing someone close to you is terrible. But you don't have to hold it in. And Yukari, you've kept yours locked up for too long. You've been trying so hard to push forward that you never stopped to grieve. It's all right. We're here for you. Your friends are here for you.
I mean, oh my god, bro. Even watching these back right now is kind of killing me inside a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know, y'all. I think Reload seriously knocked it out of the park on this moment. While I do prefer Yukari's last-ditch effort to get the key in Fest more, everything after that I honestly loved in Reload. The way Mitsuru consoles Yukari felt so real to me and I loved it a lot. I mean, I've even had real life conversations that were pretty damn similar to that. I think the writing here emphasizing that everyone loves Yukari fits so well. And like I said, it's still obvious to me that Mitsuru has a special care for Yukari. So for this breakdown scene, I do have to admit that I actually like Reload's version overall more. Which is crazy for me to say because the breakdown scene in Fez is still one of my favorite scenes in any Persona game. But damn, I love what they did with it. The other big thing I've seen discussed a lot besides the actual writing itself is the direction they went with the animated cutscenes. I've seen many people talk about their disappointment with the animated cutscenes, not just in episode Aigis, but the base game as well. Personally, I never had an issue with the route they decided to go with the animated cutscenes, where they opted to make in-engine cinematics rather than full-blown animated cutscenes, but I do understand the complaints people have about it. When it comes to episode Aigis, however, the animated cutscenes when compared to Fez are very different. The first cutscene when Aigis awakens to the power of the wild card, for example, was taken in a different direction in Reload. First and foremost, you actually get into a battle against Metis in Reload, whereas in Fez you go directly into the cutscene, which I think is fine, there's no real problem there, but the cutscene itself is where the discrepancies lie. Fez is clearly a lot more grungy, dark, and metal if you will than the Reload counterpart, where the build-up and climax last a lot longer and is overall much more dramatic. Everything for the most part happens in the exact same way, so I don't have any major grievances, but I do think it's fair to say that the cutscenes across the board probably have a bit of a more lasting impression in Fez than they do in Reload. Again, as I will emphasize for the 8 millionth time, because I don't want people putting words into my mouth, they are both good. They're just different. You can find enjoyment in both while saying which you think is better. Crazy concept, I know, and that concept is about to be pushed with this next take I have, because I know for a fact most Fez players are going to disagree with this take I have here, which is regarding the cutscene with Shadow Makoto, or the protagonist. Straight up, I don't think the Reload version is as bad as people say it is. I heard some rumblings about how much it was ruined in episode Aigis, but then I got to it and realized it's just different, just as every single other cutscene in Reload is. Does that mean it's objectively bad? No, it doesn't. It represents what it was supposed to be doing perfectly, and whether you prefer the Fez version or not is besides the point in this particular instance, because I'm not even going to compare the two for a moment, I just want to explain why I like the Reload version in its own right. So let's set the stage here. You get to the bottom of the abyss of time and come face to face with a figure that has caused all of your regret, and it just so happens to be the person you loved the most. Every single person in Cease loved Makoto dearly, and now you're forced to defeat him while he uses your own personas, adding salt to the wound. Then, after defeating the person you loved so much, you see them slowly disappear before your very eyes, seemingly because of what you have done. You know this is the last time you're ever going to see him again, and it's in the form of your regrets. Yet despite that, it's still the person you loved, disappearing in the most beautiful blue aura, a shadow of the kind of person he once was. You see him disappear more and more before your very eyes until there's barely anything left, and you try desperately to reach out to him one last time, knowing nothing can change what's happening. You're stunned, confused, sad, and overwhelmed, and this is the case for everyone in Cease. On top of all of this, you've got this melancholy melody playing in the back as all of this is happening. You've just defeated the person you love most and you will never see them again. But oh wait, right after that you're given the chance to really go back in time and see him again. Not as a figure of regret, but as the person he truly was. One that was caring, loving, and there for you. After seeing that, I would have second thoughts about going back to the past too. I've heard people say this cutscene doesn't fit the moment, but I just don't agree. It's not like this is a happy ending or cutscene for the protagonist Cease. This is still a very sad moment. Nothing has been resolved, and you're left with even more questions and doubts about yourself and what's happened than you had before, which is the exact same thing that Fez does. It's just that the path they took to do this was different. And to be honest, I think Reload's version being more melancholic, if you will, fits the overall tone of what the answer is trying to do better than that Fez cutscene. While the Fez cutscene is by far one of the most memorable cutscenes I've ever seen in a game in my entire life, this whole dynamic between Cease and Makoto's shadow just doesn't exist in that particular cutscene. It honestly feels like it was just trying to shock you for the sake of doing it. And the reaction Cease have after witnessing something as traumatizing as that is not convincing. After seeing the protagonist just decay, die, just turn into absolutely nothingness right in front of them, they're calmly like, wow, that was the source of our regrets? When I would be like, holy fucking shit, what the fuck just happened? But hey, maybe that's just me. You could argue the Fez version is more akin to the themes or what have you, which maybe is true, but even still, I don't think it fits what the moment should have been doing. Fez is more memorable in this moment, but Reload fits better overall. I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but that's just genuinely how I personally feel, and I'm not going to lie to you guys even if I catch flack for it. That's not the kind of person I am. Besides the Shadow Makoto cutscene, most of the other cutscenes are pretty similar to each other or have the same kind of differences that the initial cutscene with Aigis' awakening had. The cutscene where Erebus arrives is still great in Reload if you ask me, and it ain't that different, so honestly, I don't really have any more to say when it comes to the cutscenes. The biggest thing that episode Aigis added that makes the entire experience of the answer infinitely better for me overall is the exploration dialogue that they added. Just like in the base game, as you explore the dungeon, the characters in your active party will periodically say what's on their mind, and it adds such a fantastic dynamic. It gives you more insight onto Metis, how the party feels about Metis, the regret and feelings the party are going through, and how everyone feels about the things that they see from the past. For example, listen to this dialogue between Junpei and Ken after Ken's past door is seen.
We all knew what you went through, Mata, but seeing it play out like that? Well, it's totally different hearing it from someone else. Blindsided us all, I think.
It's okay. I don't mind. I trust all of you, so...
Wow. Sorry, just getting a little choked up.
You are? But why?
I don't know about y'all, but anytime I hear things like this as I'm dungeon crawling, it makes the experience infinitely better. It adds so much more context and depth to the characters and the situation, and I honestly don't think I could ever play the OG answer again because of this addition. Not that I would want to anyway, because goddamn that gameplay sucked ass, but I'm not going to go into that. If you do want to hear what I think about the gameplay, peep the spoiler-free review I mentioned at the start. Since it's such a big part and there are so many dialogue options, I want to make a small segment showing off some of the ones I liked the most that I got on footage, and then give some commentary on screen. I didn't get every single line because that would have been damn near impossible for me, but I did get a lot of them, so let's check some of these out.
Reliving that memory was tough, but I actually feel better about it this time. Sonata-san got mad on my behalf. And everyone else was there for me too. I wish I could tell my past self what it'll be like, seeing that memory again now.
Hey, I know we're not exactly best friends, but do you really have to glare? Like it or not, we gotta work together to get out of this. You, me, Aigis, everyone.
I'm not glaring.
What?
You're right. I was glaring.
Okay. Thanks for being honest, I guess. So, Metis, what kind of things do you like?
I like my sister, obviously.
Maybe I could have phrased that better.
So our regrets gathered together to form the very entity that created this place. Interesting. Sounds like we'll have to defeat this thing if we want to put those thoughts to rest. You ready, Aigis? Mitsuru must have taken that pretty hard. You can barely tell. She looks fine. It can't be easy dealing with all that. She's more impressive than I thought.
So all of these and more make every single character of the answers impact much greater, and they contribute way more than they ever did in Fez. I think the dungeon crawling dialogue really does go unappreciated sometimes, but I feel like in this DLC in particular, it's a must-have. Without it, the dungeon crawling would have been pretty damn boring to me, but with them, I actually enjoy it. So after discussing Yukari's character, the major breakdown scene, the animated cutscenes, and how everyone was improved via the Abyss of Time dialogue, the question is which is better? Well, in my opinion, neither. They're both equally good. Fez does certain things better, Reload does certain things better. So at the end of the day, I personally can't say which one is better when it comes to the writing and everything like that. Gameplay wise though, Reload is shitting on Fez every day of the week, it's not even a debate. What do you think though? Do you think episode Aigis did the answer justice or not? I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. And if you have any other Episode Aigis content you'd like to see from me, then feel free to drop a comment. I'd also appreciate it if you could like and subscribe alongside that. It helps my channel out a lot and I'd love you forever. You can even have a free cookie on me. Here you go, homie. With that said, it's been your boy Yandere Gogeta, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out everybody, and have a great day.